Hi, friends. You are listening to the EntreEd Talk podcast, where we feature amazing educators and entrepreneurs showcasing how you can bring entrepreneurship into the classroom. We believe entrepreneurship is for everyone. I am your host, Toy Hirschman, and I am so glad you chose to join me on this journey. Let's go. Hello, friends, and welcome back to another fun episode of the EntreEd Talk podcast. I'm your host, Toy Hirschman, and I am over the moon excited today to have Lowey Sichol with me. She is an award-winning children's author, speaker, and founder of Kids Idea Tank, the nation's largest entrepreneurship competition for kids 13 and under. She's a pioneer in introducing kids to business and entrepreneurship, so obviously we have very similar passions. Lowey holds an MBA from the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth College and a BA from Hamilton College as well. I am so excited to have you here today, Lowey. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Toy.
This is really exciting. I was on your website and looked at all of your books, and I have so many evil plans for you, if you will let me. But before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and your journey, how you got to where you are today, and all of the cool things that you've been able to do to encourage entrepreneurship in young folks.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, thanks for having me on. I love talking to anyone who wants to talk about entrepreneurship, and kids, and inspiring the next generation. So my journey basically started like most MBAs. I went to business school. I was always interested in business and kind of started down that traditional path. I worked for some of the big CPG companies. I worked in brand management, and then life threw a curveball, as it does. And I had twin girls, and my husband decided he wanted to go get his MBA. So we went back up to Dartmouth College, and I needed a job. And so I started talking to professors, and they all kind of said the same thing, that they needed someone to help them write case studies and their textbooks. And I thought, well, okay, I'll do this for 2 years. And I started writing case studies. And word spread, and other professors at other business schools started calling me and said, I hear you write these great case studies. Can you write me some? So I started a case writing business, and I did that for 15 years. But about 7 years in, my kids, I now have 3 kids at the time, and they're in elementary school and starting middle school. And I just kept thinking for years and years and years, someone should write books about these case studies. They should write case studies for kids, because the stories of how these companies came to be are just fascinating. And I ran it by actually my mother, who is an early childhood educational guru in the country, and back when my kids were like toddlers. And she told me this was a horrible idea and I should never think about this idea. And so I tried to shelve it, and I couldn't. And then it wasn't until my youngest was in 2nd grade, and we were invited to go visit his classroom because they had turned it into a town. And I didn't really know what that meant, but I walked in, and these 2nd graders had literally become entrepreneurs. They had, 2 were running the coffee shop, and 2 were running the airline, and 2 were running the bank. And I thought, my gosh, this is amazing. And that was really my aha moment. And I went to the local bookstore, and I asked the owner if there were books that existed for kids about, how Google came to be and how Nike came to be. And she turned to me and she said, no, but you should go home and write it. And so I literally went home that day, and I started writing my From an Idea to book series. And I gave myself 6 months. And at the end of the 6 months, I had, a big publishing deal and an agent. And it was great. So anyway, so then fast forward to 2019, and my books are out, because it takes a long time to actually have them come out. And I was on book tour, and I was speaking at tons of elementary schools and middle schools all over the country. And the same thing kept happening. Was at the end of my school talks, kids would come up to me and say, Lowey, I have this idea for this, or what should I do with this idea? And it really dawned on me that not only was I educating kids about how other companies, do it and started their businesses, but kids already had great ideas. And there really needed to be some sort of platform for these kids to at least pitch their idea, just see what happens. And so I thought, gosh, there should be like a Shark Tank for kids. And then again, it hit me like, I should do this Shark Tank for kids. And so It started as a local event in 2019 in person, and it was amazing. It was literally like Silicon Valley had come into the suburbs of Chicago, and there were 50 teams of kids, and we had these amazing judges that stepped up and said, I'd love to help out. And I was excited to do that again in person in Chicago, and then COVID hit. And so I thought, could we turn this to a Zoom thing and reach kids nationally? And we did. And that was amazing because we really got kind of a different type of kid. We were able to reach them. And then again, last year, we did it again over Zoom. And, by now I'm starting to get greedy that I want like even cooler judges, how can we change this? So I've reached out to, I wanted an all-female judge panel this last year because it had been male dominated before. And I just thought it was important to show kids that women make incredible entrepreneurs also. So I reached out to some big names and they said yes. And so there we are. We're now going to be in our 4th year next year. So it's been amazing.
Awesome. Oh, that's so exciting. Give me goosebumps.
It's a long answer to a short question.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm so glad that you did that because it's definitely a need for kids to be able to see, like, we always hear you can't be what you can't see. If you don't have exposure to entrepreneurship and how these big ideas started, you're not going to know that it's even possible. I know I didn't have anything like that in school. And it's, we like to work, I think we work with the entire spectrum, pre-K through 12, but it's so interesting. People kind of forget about the little guys. And having my own little guys, I know that it's like those ideas, they haven't boxed themselves in, even in high school, a lot of kids have already, have kind of put that box around them that they can't, I can't be Oprah or start Google or, but these kids, the little guys, they have no filter, complete and total creativity. And it's just amazing to see that.
Yeah, and fearlessness, they're just really brave at that age too, which I find amazing. And the other thing that I found, which I didn't expect, was I've had parents come up to me and say, my kid is the quietest kid in the class, or my kid struggles in school, but this, like, I never knew my kid was a natural entrepreneur. Like, so you brought out something in my kid that I never even knew existed. So, we had these kids that, maybe have special needs or learning disabilities or whatever, but their minds are just brilliant. And they come up with these amazing ideas and they have the passion. And, you look at some of the great entrepreneurs out there and that's who they were in school. And so it's really important for me. I like to say you need to have a mirror and a window. Like a mirror, you need to see people who look like you and who were like you, whether it's physically or mentally or socially or economically or whatever. And know that like there are people like you out there. And then a window, you need to be able to see like what you're able to do, like what's out there and what you're able to do. And so that's just what I try to provide. So I was like you, I had a million ideas and I never knew what to do with them. And it was the big joke in the family, like, oh, Lowey has another idea. Great. When I was a kid. And
how did you know I was like that?
Yeah. So,
yeah,
hopefully we're now creating a world where kids can believe in their ideas and see anything as possible.
Yeah, I love that. It's amazing what happens when you bring entrepreneurship to a young person and see that change, because it's that experience, and it's right off the bat, you're giving a student something that is theirs. That's 100% student driven learning, full ownership of, they're driving the bus. And unfortunately that doesn't happen as much in schools. I mean, your little guy was fortunate enough, I guess that was probably micro society or something like that he was able to do. And I love when I see that in schools, but we have so many standards and things that kids, we have to learn it, test it, done. And kids don't get that opportunity very often to just to have a passion project and work on something that's really important. That also creates value for other people. So that's really, really incredible. I'm excited that you were able to do the kids idea tank amidst the pandemic. We did a regional pitch competition last year and had to do it over Zoom, which is it has its own challenges, but it was really great to see kids participate in that.
Yeah. I would like to bring it back to in person, because I think there's something, obviously it's very nice and wonderful. We can reach so many kids and, just through their screen, but there's something to be said about not only the skills you learn, but just that natural interaction that you have between people who are like-minded. And so if you bring them all into a room and they're all bouncing ideas off each other and watching each other pitch, you're going to learn a lot more than, you've got your 3 minutes on a Zoom and then you can turn your camera off, So even if that means, we bring it back down to like a more regional thing, or, maybe we can find sponsors who are willing to fly contestants in, I don't really know what that looks like in the future, but there's something pretty special about being in person with these mentors, who are our judges, and the kids who are all like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know there were other kids who thought like me, that's pretty special. Yeah. So that's kind of my thinking for the next, round. It might be back in person. So we'll see where it all takes us.
From your lips to God's ears, I hope so too.
Yeah, I know.
I wonder what is to come this year with schools. So we're slowly starting to get back into schools again, and it's like we're just going, just please stay open, because it's been very difficult, and we've learned there's so much to be gained from being in person with people, and just showing your personality, and it's a lot of kids really, really miss that aspect. And so, my kids were never excited to go to school until this year. Oh my gosh. When do we go to school?
I know. I've got, my twins are now in high school, and I had one of them come home maybe the third day and was like, this is already the best day of school in the last year and a half, just being in person, and everyone's in person, and all the teachers are in person, and the only difference is you wear a mask, so.
They didn't even care about that. I thought that they would mind it. They didn't even care about that. It's incredible. They, mine, we found out, I have teaching degrees. I've worked with all age students, but I could not teach my own children. It did not work out well. I had to call in my mom and cavalry and all kinds.
Yeah.
It was
like AP chemistry. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I think your grandfather was a chem major. Like, call him, So.
Yeah, that would have been a tricky one. I was dealing with 3rd grade and 5th grade. So. But still, it would have been AP chemistry.
But there's trickiness in that, because there's a way that they're teaching and a reason they're teaching that way. And we don't know that, So I know. God bless the teachers. That's all I have to say.
The way they teach reading now is so funny, because my little guy's asking me, and I'm like, I don't understand this. I didn't learn this.
Yeah.
What do I do? So I am curious, in your opinion, what do you think that introducing entrepreneurship to kids so young, how do you think that helps students, regardless of whether they start a business or not someday?
Yeah, well, so I was curious when I was starting to talk at schools, like how many people actually are entrepreneurs in the world, and in our country. And it comes out to about 1 in 8 people who work is an entrepreneur. And that could mean a doctor, running his own or her own doctor's office, or that could be someone running who's really good at sewing and they open up a dry cleaning and tailor business, or that could be someone who loves food and they open up a restaurant. So, you can have chefs who are entrepreneurs, or clothing designers who are. So it's like, sometimes I think we mistake entrepreneurship as like, you have to be Steve Jobs and, you're gung-ho, crazy business person. And that's not it at all. And so, everyone's got a different passion, and you need to be able to support that passion with the skills that you learn with entrepreneurship. So whether you're working for a big company and you have a great idea and you want to be able to pitch that idea, that's like an entrepreneurial thing. Or like, I'm a children's author, but like I have to, I have a brand, and I go on book tour, like I do lots of entrepreneurial things. I also have a side business, which I do more entrepreneurial things, but everything we do, whether you're working for someone or you're working for yourself, I mean, there are skills that are so valuable in life. And I think this is what like just dawned on me. Like one, first of all, like, you know, from an idea to Google, when I was writing it, I'm thinking my kids have no idea where Google came from. And Google's only been around for about 20, 25 years. And all of us didn't have Google when we were kids, you know? So I'm like, how do they not know who Larry Page and Sergey Brin are and their story? Like, kids should know that, kind of like they should know Walt Disney created Disney. Like, that's an easy one. But, you know, I just thought, oh my gosh, there are so many brands and companies that changed the world that I think it's important that we just know where they came from. So that was one thing. But then the deeper I dug, it was like, these are skills that it doesn't really matter what you do in life. Like, I had to take my son to the orthodontist, and he was talking about the challenges of running his orthodontist office. You know, he's like, I'm an orthodontist, but I've got to run this business. And like, that's the hard part for me. And so it's like, it doesn't matter what you do in life. There's always going to be business things that you are dealing with, whether you're an actor to a sports person to a writer. You're always going to need to know like how to get your idea, because ultimately every single person has ideas and passions, and turn it into something that you can live off of. So whether it's like working with other people or pitching your idea, or, you know, brainstorming things, or knowing branding or sales or whatever it is, those are all just really important skills. And yeah, I just, the more I thought about it and the more I dug into this, I was like, how is this not like a core thing that we teach kids? But it's exciting because I think even since I've started in the past, you know, couple years, we really have come a long way just in the last few years. And teachers are embracing this. Librarians are embracing it. Parents love it. I've yet to meet a parent who's like, oh, this is a terrible idea. Like, don't tell my kids about business and entrepreneurship. Like, every single parent I've ever talked to is like, this is brilliant. I wish I had this. So it's been really exciting and exciting to see how far we've come in just a short while.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. That's our mission at EntreEd, is to, you know, we get this question all the time from folks that like, do you really think every kid's going to be an entrepreneur? I'm like, no, we don't think that. We know that that's not even a sustainable model, because then everybody would be a business of one. But we do, that's our big push, is that those mindsets and those things that like opportunity recognition, and just knowing that having that experience of entrepreneurship, whether it's reading your books, whether it's having a class like the ones that we help teachers create, just gives them that. I mean, that's an opportunity out there. That's another business career path that's always going to be there once you plant that seed. And just those soft skills of problem solving, opportunity recognition, persevering through challenges, being, you know, realizing that you are a creative person, even though you didn't do well in art class, which is something I hear all the time when I talk about creativity. Like, yeah. I get it. I didn't think I was creative until I was 40. So
It's true.
But I don't know what that is. Like the traditional kind of path of art kind of leaves these kids that can't draw, or I mean, I can't see 3 dimensions, so I was terrible. But finding out that you can be creative in other ways and being comfortable expressing that is such a big game changer for students, because, you know, you're not going to find a job that doesn't want you to have those skills.
Right. That's exactly right.
People.
It doesn't matter what job, where it is. Those are skills that will take you far in life. That's exactly right.
Yeah, it's just so important. And that's the thing we meet a room full of teachers for the first time. It takes about 20 minutes to get over that hump of, I'm not an entrepreneur. Why am I even here? And like, because you actually are, you're a teacher. So you're probably the most entrepreneurial person. That's like the most entrepreneurial group of people. They're selling things every day to people that might not want their products, like algebra or AP chemistry.
Right. Exactly. Well, you've got your students, and then you've got your parents, right? And then you've got your colleagues, and then you got outside the school. I mean, there's so many levels of really thinking like a business person or an entrepreneur. And yeah, I think that's exactly right. People don't even realize that that is what that is, and these are the skills that you can learn from entrepreneurs and, and through business. It's totally relatable no matter what it is that you're doing. So I totally agree.
That's perfect. I love that you talked about how showing students that there are, there's more to entrepreneurship than Zuckerberg or,
Those are great stories, but I'm really excited. My next book is coming out in February, and it's called Idea Makers, 15 fearless female entrepreneurs. And I love these stories because they're a little less known. And so I had kind of two goals. Again, like one, I just think they're great stories. I wanted, again, kids to know that women make great entrepreneurs. I think their stories are less told. You kind of have your one or two stories that are told over and over again, but there were so many, and I wanted to have a wide range of backgrounds and ethnicities. And, I wanted, again, people to see, wow, like there are people who look like me that did great things and I can do this too. But this is a whole, these stories of someone who had a passion, like Allie Webb is a perfect example. So I talked to Allie Webb for a long time. She was one of our judges in Kids Idea Tank. She loved hair. And she, her family thought she was the big failure of the family, and the older brother, he got into a good college. And she was like, I just don't think I'm good at school, and I don't like college, and I'm dropping. I just want to do hair. And so she went to New York City, and she got a great job blowing out people's hair. And then, she learned how to style it and blow it. She wasn't good enough to cut hair, but she used to blow dry it and style it. And that was her job. So then she moves to California. She has two little kids, and she's kind of bored, and she's missing her hairstyling. And she starts doing blow dry outs for friends. And then friends of friends are like, hey, would you do mine? And she starts this, she drops her kids off at school, and she drives all around California, blow drying people's hair out, and they pay her $40. And the next thing you know, she's booked solid. And her husband and she are like, maybe there's something more to this. And she opens her first dry bar salon. She literally invented the concept of the dry bar salon. And now she's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I mean, probably more than that. I don't know the exact number, but salons in every single state. She's got thousands and thousands of employees. She's got products. And this is someone who's like, my whole life I was told I was kind of a failure because all I loved was like my curly hair, and I wanted to make it straight one day or wavy and next. And look at her now. She's one of the greatest female entrepreneurs in our country. And she just followed her passion, and she was really fearless. And these are the stories I'm so excited to tell everyone, because it's not about being we do need geeky tech Mark Zuckerberg people in the world. We do, for sure. But we also need people who are just passionate about their passion, and great things can come from that. So I'm just really excited for this next book.
That's awesome. And say what title again?
It's called Idea Makers, and then it's 15 fearless female entrepreneurs.
And that's on I think I saw that was on pre-order now, right?
Yeah, it comes out February 15th. So
cool.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day present.
Yeah, there you go. For the woman you love, right?
Actually, you know what? That's kind of funny. I think, I'm not sure. The third week of February is National Entrepreneurship Week.
Oh, is it? That's great. I don't think I even knew that. And I know March is Women's History Month. So I was thinking that's a great tie-in also. But yeah, that's perfect. I didn't even know that. I'll make sure to. We
should connect, because we do a thing on National Entrepreneurship Week. So maybe you could.
That would be awesome.
A series of, it's been webinars for the last 2 years, but maybe something else this year. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys have something in person, I would definitely come out for it or whatever. So yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be really cool. So what advice might you give an educator who may be listening to this? We have a lot of educators and going, cool. I want to get started in my classroom doing something with entrepreneurship, but I have no idea what to do.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. I wish I had a more like solid answer to this. I think, so reading is the first thing. Find an entrepreneur, and everyone's going to go to the Steve Jobs and the Walt Disneys of the world, and that's fine. But what I like to do is like look around you, and there's a story everywhere you go, right? So like, I don't know, this is my water bottle. Like, I don't even know, Hydro Flask, like this is someone's idea, right? Like, and I love this water bottle and it keeps my drinks cold. Like so I will honestly drive through town, like look at my clothes, like what's something I absolutely love. And then what's the story behind it? Because I think just learning, like, how did someone else do it? I mean, this is how you teach in business school. Like you read case studies. It's not so much, hey, let's write a business plan. Sometimes there's an entrepreneurship class where you might do that, but in every single class in business school, at least at Harvard, at Dartmouth, at Northwestern, you're reading case studies. You're reading about how other people did it. And so I think that's the most important thing, but like maybe a teacher could say, find something that you love and research, like, where did the idea come from? How did they do it? So like Lego is one of my favorite stories. I mean, every child in the world has a Lego, right? And that is one of the greatest entrepreneurship stories of all time. And my kids laugh that, now there's like a Lego Masters show on and things like that. And they're like, Mom, you were so ahead of the game. I'm like, I know. But talk about a story of perseverance and not giving up. I mean, Ole Kirk Christensen, like, oh my gosh, it's like the greatest story of all time. So, I would maybe have them find something that they love and find the story behind it. Avoiding maybe the obvious ones. Well, I mean, even like Nike, right? Like the story of Phil Knight. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's one of my books. And there's so much more to it than Phil Knight runs Nike. I mean, he failed and his dad told him he was dumb. And like, he was always like the failure and trying to impress his dad. And then he just knew he loved running more than anything else in the world. And he wanted to make a great running shoe. And, and his first company got kind of like overtaken. And so like, it's a great story. So that would be like my first advice is just, I'm a big believer in reading about how others did it, probably because of my MBA education, but like, I know that works. And if it's something close to home with the kid, he or she will be like, wow, I never knew that about like my favorite shoe or my favorite pencil or whatever it is. And then of course there's always like learning by doing, right? Which I'm a big believer in. Our school system's all about like progressive education and learning by doing. So you could always run like a small pitch competition in your classroom, or you could do the like create a town or create a, some sort of business world in your town where you are running the show or, running your business. I'm sure you guys have a lot of more ideas. I'm a big believer, like I said, about the like sharing the story is the kind of the first step, and digging deep into the things you love. But yeah, the next step is obviously like thinking of your own idea, and how would you turn that into a plan and a pitch and a reality.
I love that. I'm going to steal that. We have training coming up. I might use it. That's such a cool idea, because that I something that we've not done before is just like what you're doing is to say, oh my gosh, I really love this gum, and where did it come from? And I think exploring that is a really neat idea, because it's going to be something that the child already is interested in, and now they're going to know a whole lot more about it. So that's an awesome idea.
I do. In my school talks, I will have like a bag of things. So I'll hold up like a Hershey bar, and I call it Name That Entrepreneur. Like, hold up a Hershey bar. Okay, this one's easy. Like, name that entrepreneur. And people are like, Hershey, and maybe a kid or two knows it's Milton Hershey, but okay, great. What's the story? And then everyone's like, huh? And then I tell the story of Milton Hershey. Like, it wasn't easy, and here was his background, and it was pretty bad. And then here's his failed business. And then he had this aha moment where he tastes chocolate for the first time at the Chicago World's Fair. And like, what did he do next? And then I'll take, a pair of like Beats, and headphones. Oh yeah, those are Beats, like, okay, well, let's back up. Like, where do they come from? And then I talk about Dr. Dre and how he grew up like surrounded by gangs and violence, and like music was his escape. And then he knew there was a problem because he hated the way his music sounded on like the first Apple earbuds, and like, oh, I think I can solve that problem, And so it's cool because people just take this for granted. Like, there are just these amazing things around us. And, sometimes we're quick to say like, oh, Mark Zuckerberg, but like, he wasn't always like who he is today, like he was a student and he had a passion in technology, and like, he thought of what was going on in the world and how he could take it to the next level. So it's pretty cool when you make kids like actually find something and wait, what is the story behind that? So that's kind of my favorite thing to do.
I love that. I think it really opens their eyes to, once you go through that process and, figure out the next time, you run into something that's annoying in the world, then you're like, oh, maybe that's a problem that other people have. And we talk to kids about that all the time. Go home and just be mindful all day about the things that just drive you nuts, and then come back tomorrow and tell us what it is and how you might solve that problem, and who else has that problem. And it's really eye-opening when you think of it that way, because it was something that was never brought to my attention. I thought I was nuts. Same, probably you have a similar situation. I thought I was completely nuts. My parents didn't understand why I kept changing jobs. And turns out I was just entrepreneurially minded. And I finally found my people. I'm like, oh, it's a whole room full of me here. This is where I belong. Because I just always had these ideas and didn't know what to do with them. And they never seemed to fit any, like, a degree in engineering or my teaching degree. And then like, I'm all over the board.
Yeah.
I flunked every personality test I think I ever took. I always end up like
the personality test.
I always end up in like this, in the area that could go in any direction, like, I'm like right on the line always with all of the things. And I think I've taken like the Myers-Briggs 4 or 5 times, and every time it's completely different.
Yeah, totally. That's so funny.
Awesome. So tell us, Lowey, where can folks go to find out more about you and your books and all of the cool things that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website, which is loweysicol.com or loweybundysichol.com. So I know my name's kind of hard to spell and pronounce, but it's LOWEYSICHOL. But I usually pop up if you even just get to Lowey. There's like some congresswoman whose name is Lowey, but I'm not the congresswoman. I'm the author. And then on there, my books are available anywhere: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, independent bookstores. Like I said, I got a new one coming out in February, which I'm really excited about. And then Kids Idea Tank usually happens in the summer. I don't know. I'm thinking about Kids Idea Tank a lot these days, because I'm thinking about, do we keep it in the summer, or is it better to move it to during the school year? So maybe teachers could actually embrace that and make it, maybe there's, we were talking about activities. Maybe there's something around Idea Tank that they could like lead up to that, or they could watch it, So I've been thinking about, do I move it to the school year? Do I keep it online? Do I make it in person again? So I am thinking a lot about that. So hopefully some decisions will be made soon, but there will continue to be Kids Idea Tank. But everything's on my website. So loweysicol.com, and then my Twitter, which I'm not that good about doing Twitter, but I try. I'm doing a daily book giveaway this month of my books to teachers and librarians. So that's my annual back to school book giveaway. So that's at Lowey Sichol. And then, I'm always with my books. I'll be doing author visits too, both in person and virtual, whatever schools want. I'm happy to go to schools and ask. It doesn't bother me. And also do virtual ones. So lots of good stuff. But yeah, it's an exciting time, and I'm so excited there are programs like you guys have. This is something I didn't even know existed when I kind of entered all of this. And so it's just really exciting to connect with people who are doing the same thing, just trying to prepare the next generation and introduce them to things that we didn't have. So it's really cool.
We're fighting the good fight, I think. And that's it's, our mission at EntreEd is to bring entrepreneurship to all students and teachers in schools in K through 12 and beyond. But we do that by reaching out to amazing folks like yourself that have, we have some resources, but we want to really showcase the amazing things that other people are doing and help get those things into schools and, give teachers those resources to really inspire kids. Because it really is the mindset is so important. And it's just such a game changer for kids to know that that's out there, that, at any point in time, you can be an entrepreneur. It's always available to you. You can be 95 years old and decide, or 5, it's everywhere.
It is. I mean, it is. That's exactly right. And a lot of people don't realize that's who they are. There are some, like the Kids Idea Tank is fun because you're getting the kids who kind of are feeling that already. But I get it. Like, it's not for everyone. And my husband runs a very successful real estate, life science building, business. And he started, and we were like the poorest of the poor. And he just had this idea that he could do it. And he was probably in his 30s and never was told anything about being an entrepreneur or whatever, but was like, I have this idea and I know I can do it. And, now he runs one of the biggest life science development companies in the world. And when COVID shut every building down, he was running all these scientific labs where like Pfizer was making the vaccine. And like, these are the buildings that have to stay open during COVID. And so the whole a spotlight shone on him because all of a sudden he had figured out, how to make labs. And now everyone's like, how do you do it? Like, how'd you do that? So it's really exciting to see someone very dear to my heart, like go from no money and just an idea to like someone changing the world right now, and so that's it's like, my poor kids are like, oh, the entrepreneurship in this house, like they're probably gonna be not gonna be entrepreneurs, but it's funny. My son is now in 8th grade, and he came home last night and he had this thing on Rockefeller and about how he started the whole oil industry and what he did. And I was like, oh, I love this unit, and he's like, oh my gosh, he's like, my dumb parents, just laughing. But it's so cool because, it's sinking in. And it was really cool to talk to him last night about Rockefeller because we were talking about the words capital and investment and board of directors, and he knew what they all meant. And it's just because at our dinner table, this is how we talk. And that's pretty amazing. I don't think a lot of families maybe talk like that. And I think they should, because I think kids are really interested in it. And they want to know, even though they pretend they don't want to know what you're doing at work, like they want to know what all those words mean. Or like watch Shark Tank with them and explain what like return on investment means, or, those are really cool things to see brewing in the minds of kids these days. Certainly nothing I had, but, I had to go to business school to learn all that, but it's really cool to see kids kind of embracing that world now.
Yeah, I love it. It's so funny because with COVID and my kids being home and listening, in earshot of these podcasts and stuff, and they're like, I don't want to talk no more. Stop it with the entrepreneurship, Mom. But then all of a sudden they'll say something. And I'm like, oh, somebody was listening.
Starting to step in. Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, that's really cool. I know, it's funny.
Well, thank you, Lowey, so much for being here today and sharing this with our audience. And I encourage everyone to go check out your website and in your books because they are amazing. And I'm looking forward to the new one coming out. But definitely we need to keep in touch, as I think there's a lot of potential for future collaboration, I think, down the road.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds awesome. I love what you guys are doing. And anything I can do to help, I'm on board. So that sounds great.
Likewise. Well, thank you so much. And I just really am grateful and appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for having me.